You are 6 years old, standing on a windy hillside with a hammer in one hand and a peanut butter sandwich in the other, while your parents crouch over a patch of exposed rock like they've just discovered pirate treasure. Other families spend weekends in shopping malls. Your family spends them arguing excitedly over layers of shale. Your shoes are muddy. Your pockets are full of strange pebbles. Your mother just yelled, "Don't lose that one, it might be special." And for once, she wasn't talking about you. Somewhere in the distance, somebody is grilling burgers in a suburban backyard. Meanwhile, you are being taught how to read a cliff face like it's a secret diary written by the planet itself. Honestly, this absolutely rules. Now roll it back to the beginning. You arrive in a household where the furniture is normal, the people are mostly normal, but every shelf is crowded with rocks that look important. There are labeled specimens in the living room, a magnifying lens on the kitchen table, maps pinned to walls with little circles and notes all over them. Your bedtime stories are not just about dragons and kings. They are also about volcanoes, mountain ranges, giant oceans that vanished millions of years ago, and continents slowly crashing into each other like very patient bumper cars. Your first lesson is simple. Dirt is not just dirt. Sand is not just sand. Stones are not just stones. Everything under your feet has a story, and your family is the kind of family that actually wants to hear it. Most kids grow up learning the names of cartoon characters. You grow up learning the difference between granite and basalt before you can spell either of them. You discover early that if you bring home a cool-looking rock, nobody in your house tells you to throw it away. They gather around it like you brought in a winning lottery ticket. Your father turns it over in his hand. Your mother narrows her eyes. Somebody says, "Where did you find this?" in the same tone other families reserve for, "Where did you hide the car keys?" This is your childhood now. Welcome to the club. Family vacations are never just vacations. A normal family sees a canyon and says, "Nice view." Your family stops the car so fast your juice box almost launches into orbit. Everyone gets out. Your parents point at layers of rock with the kind of joy some people only show at weddings. You are told that this line means one ancient environment, that color means another, and those shells used to live at the bottom of a sea in a place that is now dry land. You are standing in sunshine, eating crackers, while your parents casually explain that the desert used to be underwater. Suddenly, every landscape feels like a magic trick. Road trips are elite entertainment in a geologist family. Other people look for restaurants and gas stations. Your people look for outcrops. They get excited by road cuts. Road cuts. Walls of exposed earth by the highway. To outsiders, that sounds unhinged. To you, it means your parents are about to pull over, step out into the wind, and spend 10 glorious minutes admiring 300 million years of history stacked like a layer cake. And the best part is that their enthusiasm is contagious. At first you're just there because you're too young to stay home alone. Then one day you catch yourself kneeling by a stream, washing mud off a small stone, because you want to see the crystals better. That is the moment. There is no going back. The rock brain has activated. School becomes weirdly easy in certain ways. Not all ways. Nobody is claiming geology makes fractions fun. But when teachers start talking about mountains, earthquakes, rivers, fossils, or glaciers, you already have insider knowledge. You raise your hand too fast. You accidentally know what sedimentary means. You are one of the only children in the room who understands that a cliff can be a time machine. Your classmates may think your family is odd, but the second there's a project about volcanoes, suddenly you're the one everybody wants in their group. Then, there are the tools. A geologist family has gear, and gear is cool. Rock hammers, hand lenses, boots, maps that fold in complicated ways, field notebooks with scribbles that look like they belong to treasure hunters. bags full of mysterious samples. There is something deeply satisfying about growing up around adults who treat curiosity like an expedition. They don't just wonder about the world. They go outside and interrogate it. You learn that being raised by geologists means being raised by people who notice things. They notice shapes in the landscape. They notice how a slope changes color. They notice a pebble underfoot that most people would kick aside without a second thought. Living with them trains your eyes. You become observant almost by accident. You start to understand that the world is more layered than it looks, literally and otherwise. Also, let's talk about dinner conversation, because this is where a geologist family really flexes. Some families discuss office gossip. Yours casually debates whether a valley was carved by water, ice, or both. Somebody brings up a trip from 10 years ago, and suddenly the table is covered in hand gestures describing fault lines. Your aunt explains mineral veins with a fork. Your uncle has a story about getting caught in the rain halfway up a mountain while trying to collect samples. Even the embarrassing family legends are better. Not, "Dad got locked out of the house." More like, "Dad once got so excited about a fossil bed that he forgot where he parked for 3 hours." This is not merely wholesome. This is premium content. And the worldview they give you is even better. Because geologists are, in their own quiet way, cosmic thinkers. They live with deep time. They spend their lives looking at processes too slow for ordinary drama. Mountains rise, then wear away. Oceans appear, disappear, and return in new forms. Entire worlds come and go. When you grow up with that perspective, everyday problems still matter, but they stop feeling like the end of civilization. You bomb a test. Bad day. A storm ruins a picnic. Unfortunate. But your family has spent years teaching you that the planet itself is basically one long story of pressure, change, breakage, rebuilding, and surprise. That's a powerful way to grow up. And then, there's the freedom. Geologist families are outside families. Not in the aggressively perfect, matching water bottles way. In the real way. Sun on your face. Dust on your jeans. Windburn. Trail mix. Slightly chaotic backpacks. They take you to places most people never bother to visit. Quarries. Riverbanks. Hillsides. Desert flats. Forest cuts. Seacoasts with wave-battered cliffs. You don't just learn nature as a background. You learn it as a playground, a puzzle, and occasionally a very glamorous mud pit. By the time you're a teenager, your room has become a geological smuggling operation. There are rocks on the desk, rocks on the windowsill, rocks in the drawer, maybe one suspiciously large specimen under the bed that definitely should not be under the bed. Your friends walk in and say, "Why do you have so many rocks?" And you get to smile the smile of someone who knows more than they do. Because those aren't just rocks. That black one came from the coast after a storm. That striped one came from a road trip through the mountains. That sparkling one was the prize from a miserable, amazing hike where everybody got sunburned and nobody complained because the view was too good. Each piece is a souvenir with a backstory. Your family doesn't just collect objects. They collect moments attached to landscapes. And yes, there are social perks. Do not underestimate the charisma of unusual knowledge. At some point, someone in your life will pick up a stone, ask what it is, and you'll be able to say something unexpectedly competent. Instantly, you look like a wizard. A practical wizard in hiking boots. You know why cliffs crumble. You know why some beaches have smooth stones and others don't. You know that the ground under a city has a biography. People love that. Humans are suckers for someone who can make the ordinary world feel enchanted. Growing up in a geologist family also teaches you patience in a sneaky way. You can't rush a process that took millions of years. You can't bully a landscape into revealing itself. You have to look, compare, listen, return, think again. That kind of patience slips into the rest of your life. You become less frantic, more curious, better at staying with a question until it gives you a real answer. And then one day you realize the deepest gift your family gave you isn't the knowledge. It's the habit of wonder. Because geologists do not move through the world asleep. They are awake to it. A hill is not just a hill. A pebble is not just a pebble. A bend in a river, a line in a cliff, a strange boulder sitting in the wrong place, all of it means something. They live in constant conversation with the earth. To be born into that is to be born into a household where attention is a form of love. That's why being raised in a geologist family feels so rich. It's not about being elite in a flashy way. Nobody is stepping out of a limousine onto a red carpet here. The glamour is better than that. It's the glamour of secret knowledge. The prestige of seeing what others miss. The thrill of realizing that the world has been leaving clues everywhere, and your family taught you how to read them. As you get older, you start noticing how rare that is. A lot of people go through life without ever really looking down. They walk over astonishing things every day and never know it. But you were trained by experts in noticing. You know how to pause. You know how to ask what happened here. You know that a cracked stone can whisper about pressure, heat, time, catastrophe, and beauty all at once. That's a fantastic inheritance. And the family identity becomes its own kind of legend. Other people inherit old jewelry, recipes, or business connections. You inherit field habits, favorite sights, and a sixth sense for the beauty of a landscape. Maybe you also inherit a few boxes of labeled samples that weigh enough to challenge the structural integrity of a small apartment. That is not clutter. That is legacy. Maybe you do become a geologist yourself. Maybe you don't. Either way, the imprint stays. You still feel a tiny rush when you spot a dramatic cliff from the car. You still pick up interesting stones without thinking. You still feel an absurd level of satisfaction when you correctly identify something on a hike. Somewhere deep in your brain, the family program is still running. And honestly, it's a great program. Because to be born into a geologist family is to be born into adventure with a quiet voice. It is to grow up in a world where curiosity is practical, enthusiasm is respectable, and beauty hides in plain sight. It is to have parents who can turn a pile of gravel into a story, a roadside stop into a discovery, and a weekend walk into a memory you'll keep forever. You don't just inherit a hobby. You inherit a way of seeing. A way of moving through the world with sharper eyes, deeper patience, and a permanent sense that the ground beneath you is alive with history. And years later, long after the field trips and roadside stops and muddy boots, that might be the coolest part of all. Because other people remember childhood as a blur of classrooms and chores and ordinary afternoons. You remember being handed a rock and being told, with total seriousness, that it mattered. You remember adults lighting up over layers of stone like they'd found buried treasure. You remember learning that the world was older, stranger, and more magnificent than it first appeared. That kind of childhood doesn't just rock. It rocks on a geological scale.